Good morning and welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve on this Saturday, July 3rd, 2021, July 3rd. First of all, hard to believe that we're already halfway through the year 2021. We're now in the month of July, and also, wow, here it is, the 4th of July weekend. We are there. You may notice that I'm wearing a shirt that's a little bit related to that. I'm doing a real quick check here because I think we've got at least one of my production team trying to get logged in here to the broadcast. So let me. I'm just gonna be a little bit casual here, and all right, give me just a second here, my friends out there. I'm sending a code that Christopher is going to need in order to get on here. We're gonna let moderator Cat join the conversation. At least I hope we are. Hey, how are you all doing? Go ahead and start putting things in the comments. Say hi as you're coming in here while I'm taking care of business, a little bit of business here. And maybe I'm taking care of business. I'm going slow. Trying to get all of this done. I know it's tough when you're running it all from two computers at the same time and not that good at multitasking anyway. Hang on a second here. I'm going to see if I can do this. All right, here we go. There we go. Maybe we'll see if that worked. And I'm going to get back to you folks here. And once again, say good morning and welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. I think I need a sip right here. Hello, Kathy Glavin. Hello, Mallory Glavin. Hello, Carla Venturi, Jerry Thompson, Corianne Woodard is there, Rick Venturi, Jerry Zetterval. All right, we are tuning in. How's everybody doing this Saturday? Holiday weekend for many. That's a holiday weekend for everybody, but for those who are still in the workplace, you maybe getting an extra day off or a little bit of extra celebration. Shalane Shepherd, good morning. And everybody drink. That's right, got to do it. All right. And yeah, so what are you doing? First of all, I know, again, for many people, the weather has continued to be an issue in different parts of the country, right? Still getting some, I know the heat diminished a little bit on the West Coast, but we're still getting some pops of heat wave in different parts of the country, tropical storms in parts of the country. And it's just, we're in that season, whatever that season may be. We've been in a lot of seasons, I guess. Let's see who's tuning in here. Okay, I think I said hello to everybody so far. If I missed you, say hello. Make sure I see that you're here. And I see Shalane saying she gets Monday off, and that's a good thing. So, yeah, we're, holiday weekend. I got to tell you, my employer is very generous when it comes to things like holidays. We get a lot of personal time off already. And then our fiscal year, I work for a nonprofit organization, City Year, and our fiscal year begins July 1. So Thursday was the beginning. Is that right? Thursday was the beginning of our fiscal year. Wednesday was the final day of the previous fiscal year. And going back even a couple of months ago, we're a national organization, and our headquarters in Boston, Massachusetts, notified everyone that as a thank you for the hard work everybody had put in over the course of this last year, in addition to having Monday, July 5th, as our July 4th holiday, which has been on the schedule since the fiscal year started a year ago. We knew that we'd get July 5th off, but they notified us that in addition, we were getting July 1st and 2nd off as paid holidays. So we get a 5-day weekend and 3 paid holiday days in there. Just a very generous organization. I love the organization. I love working for them. I love our mission and the people I work with, but very, very generous to employees. And I really appreciate that. So I've been having a nice little respite from work. Hi, Kim Baker. I saw Lila Swafford on there. So hello, everybody. And I hope you are having a good Independence Day holiday weekend. If you are someone who still works on some basis outside of the home or even inside the home, many of us, worked in different capacities inside the home for the past 15 or 16 months. But if you have a job that gives you the holiday as a paid day off, or even just as an opportunity to take a day off, hope you're enjoying that. If you are retired in another situation where you do not have a job that you go to, enjoy this day anyway, right? Enjoy this weekend anyway. We get to celebrate a very special holiday in the life of our country and the history of our country. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to play a little bit of a game today, in fact, a little trivia. So let's talk about the special days that are coming up. Hi, Kathy Garlick, I see on there. If I missed you again, please say hi when you get in here. If you don't hear from me right away, say hi again. I try to catch everybody during the broadcast. I'm looking at different things along the way, so sometimes I do miss you, and I apologize in advance. But do know that I appreciate you being here. If you're tuning in later, if you're not on, hold it, I need a drink. Hang on. Shall I call it? If you tune in later and watch this recorded, please still make your comments, be a part of the conversation. That's what this is all about. It's for everybody to join in and be a part of this community and be a part of the conversation. So I appreciate you being here. And special days. So July 3rd, I forgot I put this one on here. Today, July 3rd, is Compliment Your Mirror Day. It's the day that you're supposed to get in front of the mirror and point at it and say, you look good. Yeah, a little bit of a narcissistic ego trip, I guess. But, we all need to do that sometimes. So I think we all too often look in the mirror and go, oh, my goodness, what happened to you? And so I think it's okay to look in that mirror every now and then and say, you're doing okay. Whether you compliment the physical appearance or you just tell that reflection in the mirror that they're doing okay in life. It's okay to do that today. Compliment Your Mirror Day is today. Hi, Scott Glovin. Good to see you. Tomorrow happens to be a holiday. I think we've already mentioned it. You may have some hints that it's taking place. Independence Day, July 4th, is tomorrow on a Sunday. And that means that for many people, July 5th, Monday, is when the holiday is being recognized in the workplace. And many people have the day off. Also, July 5th is National Apple Turnover Day. And so I know some of you out there like to cook, like to bake, and maybe on Monday would be a great day to make some apple turnovers and invite me over. That's all I'm going to say. I have the day off on Monday. I'm available to come over. And if anybody needs some sampling and testing of those apple turnovers, I'm more than happy to sacrifice a little bit of time and accommodate that. The next day, July 6th, is National Fried Chicken Day. As the Colonel and many other people well know, it's a day that we celebrate and enjoy one of America's favorite comfort foods, and that's fried chicken. And then talking about comfort foods and enjoying, the following day, July 7th, is Chocolate Day. Pure and simple. It didn't say National Chocolate Day. It didn't say International Chocolate Day. It didn't break it down in terms of something specific that that you have to make out of the chocolate. Just enjoy chocolate in any way, shape, or form. In fact, one of the sites that I was looking at actually talked about different ways throughout the day to enjoy chocolate. Man, come up with your own. In fact, if you got some great ways that you like to enjoy chocolate, put them here in the chat. I liked that. I saw a comment a minute ago up here that talking about the look in the mirror or compliment your mirror day. And Rick Venturi put it there that said, Carla says to say 5 things you like about yourself. I think it's a great idea. I think we all too often focus. I was having a conversation with my daughter last night, in fact, and talking about the fact that all too often in life, just in general, when we think about, what do people think of me? We tend to focus on the negatives all too often. And I think it's okay. It's not an ego trip if you stop and think about some good that you bring, some things that are good about yourself. It's important. All right, jumping ahead here again a little bit. I have one birthday, and that's today. Aubrey Harder she's not on here today, probably celebrating her birthday back in the Midwest where she lives with her family. But happy birthday, Aubrey. If you tune in later and see this, enjoy your special day. If you have a special day coming up this week, and we haven't mentioned it, put it in the chat. Make sure that we know that you're celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, a special personal day of some sort that you want to make sure that we don't forget. And if you've got a special day coming up in the month of July that you want to make sure we mention on Coffee Breaks with Steve, you can private message me or send to email. It's on the Facebook page for Coffee Breaks. And let me know about that day. We'll add it to the schedule. All right, let's see. I want to get into our topic for the day today because it's a topic for everybody. We're going to have some fun with this today. we are going to play a little bit of a trivia game. We do those things sometimes on Coffee Breaks with Steve, and just to, this is all about your interacting anyway. It's not about me rambling on, which is why I like to have guest hosts and guests and others on here. But to me, it would be great if we could all really be sitting around a big table someplace and just having this conversation. We didn't need cameras. We didn't need chat boxes in the studio or on Facebook, and we could just have a conversation. So we're going to interact a little bit today. And what I've got is I've got 13 trivia questions about Independence Day. So my first question is, hey, it's Jack's birthday on the 7th. All right. Happy birthday, Jack. All right. And Rick is, if in case anybody doesn't know who Jack is, you can put that in the chat as well. Within our family, we celebrate all family members, right? So we could sit around a table. I like that, Corianne. All right, so the first question I have for you, it's a little bit of a trivia question. Why did I pick 13 as the number of questions, besides the fact that a lot of people think 13 is a lucky number? Is there any significance for a topic to the number 13? I think it's a question that you can begin to answer. And by the way, since you're putting stuff in the chat, there's a bit of a delay. You know, you can I'll give you a minute, and I hopefully I'll be able to figure out which answers go with which questions. This is always a fun part of doing it this way, because I have a little bit of a delay as to when I see what you post. It's a few seconds late. Shalane said everybody drink, which I think was related to the last time, but I took advantage of it and I drank. All right. Jerry Zetterval just put in here the 13 original colonies. That's absolutely right. That's the reason I chose this, that at the time that the Continental Congress was meeting in this era to talk about topics such as the treatment from England and the King of England and the possibility of independence, there were 13 American colonies that were represented at the Continental Congress. And in fact, at times, this is side trivia, not all 13 were actually present at all of the Continental Congress sessions. All right, here's the first question. Question number 1 for you. 7 plus 4 equals 11. What is that? Wait, July 4th, 7 plus 4 equals 13. Kim Baker? Yeah. Okay, Kim. First official question. What are the first 7? Oh, by the way, don't Google this stuff. Try to do this without Googling. Honor system, obviously, I'm not there to see. If we were all sitting around a table, I could see if you had your devices in your hands, but I'm not. What are the first 7 words of the Declaration of Independence? What are the first 7 words of the Declaration of Independence? Go ahead and drop those in the chat if you think you know them. And we'll see who comes up with the right answer here. And you think, well, that's simple. Everybody knows that. I don't know that everybody knows. So I'm asking these questions. And this isn't to shame anyone or embarrass you if you don't get the right answer. I don't get the right. Look, I did look a lot of this stuff up to make sure I had the right answer. So, you know, it's not all about right answers. It's about participating. You get credit for trying. All right. Kathy Garlick put, we the people of the United States. Shalane Shepard put a question mark. A question mark is not at the beginning of the Declaration of Independence. Scott, it was a dark and stormy night. Carissa, I know the Constitution, but not the Declaration. I don't. So a lot of people automatically think in Congress. And the reason the in Congress message is up there is that if you look at some of the old manuscripts, that the S's kind of looked like cursive F's at times. We the people in order to form. So a lot of people think it's the we the people comment. Other people think that the Declaration of Independence begins with, we hold these truths to be self-evident. In fact, we the people is the first part of the Constitution, is the preamble, beginning of the preamble of the Constitution. The beginning of the Declaration of Independence is when in the course of human events, the opening that Thomas Jefferson wrote to address the misjustices, the lack of justice that the colonies felt they received from the King of England. And that first beginning, the beginning 7 words, when in the course of human events, it goes on to say, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary. And it goes on And I'm going to blank out on it if I try to do it from memory right now. But in elementary school, at one point, I had to memorize the beginning of the Declaration. And it was a revelation to me because we not only memorized it, but we broke it down. And Shalane, I should know that because of Nicolas Cage, right? If you pay attention to the movie National Treasure, they talk about the Declaration of Independence. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that they declare those causes that impel them to the separation. Then it goes on to say, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to ensure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles, and organizing its power in such a form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. I think I got most of that right. It's been a while, but that was something that stuck with me. And to study what those words meant and the context and the impact of that, it's significant, and it's something I get at times very in depth regarding. Okay, question number 2. Many people know that Thomas Jefferson was the main author of the Declaration of Independence. And if you didn't know that, then now you have another trivia point that you can share with people. Can you name the other 4 members of the committee that was formed to draft that document, to draft the Declaration of Independence? There were a total of 5 people. Thomas Jefferson was one of them and was the first author, was the primary author of the draft version of the Declaration. Can you name any of the other? Yeah, it was way more than 7 words. I started with the 7 and then my brain remembered some of the others, Kathy Garlick. Shalane Shepard put John Adams in there. John Adams was on that committee. In fact, John Adams was the one who asked to form the committee. Alexander Hamilton was not a member of that committee. John Adams, yes, John Adams, correct. Another name that probably is an obvious one in there, Kathy Garlick got it. Benjamin Franklin was on the committee. So we have Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin. If you are a fan of even musicals like 1776, you may also have a couple of the other names, but I'll give you just a few more seconds. I could be a historical actor. Thank you, Corey Ann. That would be cool. I would love to take part in some of the recreations of certain things, dress up in the colonial costuming and, work at Independence Hall or one of the festivals that would be fun. Okay, I'm going to give you the names. Jon Snow, McGillicuddy, Bert Convy, and the kid from Bad Santa. Scott, I love when you participate. John Shalane says, I know John Hancock signed, but was he a bigger part? He was a bigger part in several ways, but he was not a member of that committee. John Hancock actually presided over the Continental Congress. And as such, that's why he chose to write his signature so big and central, was because of his role and his position when they signed. But he was not part of the committee. So here were the members of, he studied a week for this. I did. I mean, I looked some of this stuff up. Now, some of you know that I'm a trivia nerd, so there were things that are in here that I already knew, but I did indeed look a lot of this up and study and research. Here are the 5 members. I should absolutely play Louisa May Alcott. I could do that. Here are the 5 members of the committee that drafted the Declaration of Independence. Roger Sherman of Connecticut, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, John Adams of Massachusetts, Robert Livingston of New York, and Thomas Jefferson of Virginia. Now, Thomas Jefferson actually believed that John Adams should author the first draft of the Declaration, but Adams convinced Jefferson that he should do it. And later on, Adams wrote in his memoirs the 3 reasons that he gave Jefferson. Does anybody know any of the reasons? You may have read this someplace, you may have seen it in a movie, but 3 reasons that Adams listed are really kind of interesting. If you know anything about history, know anything about John Adams and his personality and how he was perceived. So I'll give you just a second. All right. And you probably won't get these, but I can give you, I mean, this is more, you would almost have to look this up. I had to look up, I knew the basics, but I had to look up the the actual quote. This is the actual quote that Adams wrote later on. He said that when just give you a little bit of background, that he approached Jefferson and asked him to write it, and Jefferson said, "You should do it." And Adams said, "No, it shouldn't be me, it should be you." And Jefferson said, "Why?" And Adams said, "I have my reasons." Jefferson said, "Give me your reasons." Adams said, "There are 3 reasons." He said, and Corianne, thank you. And you're basically, you got at least one of them right in there. He said, "Reason first, you are a Virginian, and a Virginian ought to appear at the head of this business." And his reasons for that, breaking away from the quote, Virginia was considered the most powerful and the richest of the colonies. Virginian ought to appear at the head of this business. Reason second, I am obnoxious, suspected, and unpopular. You are very much otherwise. That speaks to how Adams was viewed. Reason third, you can write 10 times better than I can. Adams considered himself a strong orator, but he did not consider himself a great writer. Jefferson, on the other hand, never considered himself an orator. He did not like to speak. He was very reticent. He was an introvert. Some people say he may even have been on the autism spectrum in some fashion. Very brilliant, possibly with Asperger's or something of that nature, but he did not like to speak publicly, but he was a fantastic writer. So those were the reasons. All right, question 4. On what date did the Second Continental Congress vote for independence from Great Britain? Just let's deal with the obvious. On what date did the Second Continental Congress vote for independence from Great Britain? I'll give you a moment on that one. That should be pretty easy to answer. Dead silence in the chat as everybody sneaks to Google to look that up. It was not July 4th. That's when they signed. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to when they signed in just a minute here. July 4th. Kim Baker is showing July 4th. Any other people want to weigh in on that date? You want to make it unanimous? Coffee Breaks with the moderator Cat is saying July 2nd, which is interesting. Anybody else? July 4th. And Carla is putting a question mark after there because she's thinking if I ask that question, then perhaps it's a trick question. July 7th. Okay, so the Declaration of Independence that was drafted by committee was approved by the Second Continental Congress as the way of sharing publicly the vote for independence. And that was accepted on July 4th, which is why that date appears on the Declaration of Independence. The vote for independence, the 13 colonies voting to say that, yes, they all agreed that for independence happened 2 days earlier on July 2nd, as moderator Cat put in there. And it was interesting because John Adams actually believed and wrote to his wife that he believed that July 2nd, the date July 2nd, would be celebrated for generations to come as the important date. The reality is most people weren't really aware of that vote. They were aware of the posting, the publication, the posting, and the sharing of the Declaration, which had the July 4th date on it. So there you have it. Okay. And this is what they actually voted for. It was a resolution presented several weeks earlier by Richard Henry Lee of Virginia. It actually had been presented to the Second Continental Congress on June 7th, and they debated it, and they actually recessed to go back to their home colonies, and then came back to vote at the beginning of July, and finished the debate and then held that vote. And this was Richard Henry Lee's resolution: resolved that these united colonies are, and of a right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, that it is expedient forthwith to take the most effectual measures for forming foreign alliances, and that a plan of confederation be prepared and transmitted to the respective colonies for their consideration and approbation. The plan of confederation came as a result then of declaring independence, sharing that with the states, and then moving forward. Yeah, and Carla says July 4th was our Aunt Mira's birthday, and that's correct. That's my dad's sister, who passed away a couple of years ago, and her birthday is July 4th. Now, interestingly, when she was born, it wasn't that big a deal for their family because she was born in Croatia. So, they weren't really celebrating the 4th of July there, but they did celebrate her birthday and continued to. All right. Let's see. The next question. Which colony abstained from the vote? There were 13 colonies, and they were voting, and they needed not to have any dissension in order for this. I mean, they could have passed the vote for independence, with just a simple majority, but then they would have been divided in terms of actually moving ahead. So they didn't want any dissension. One of the colonies in the vote actually abstained because they didn't have clear direction initially, and later on did approve the vote for independence. Which of the states was that? Corianne is saying that it was Georgia. Moderator Cat is saying New York. Shalane is saying Delaware. Shalane is also saying, has anyone mentioned the fantasticness of your shirt? Are your socks also patriotic? We'll get to that once we answer this question. I'll address today's outfit. California, Kim Baker. Kim, undoubtedly California, had it been around at that time as even a colony, would have probably been a major thorn in everybody's side, right? But the actual answer is that New York initially abstained. There were 12 yes votes and there was one abstention. Kathy Garlick has it as well. And New York said that they did not have clear instructions from their constituent assembly back in New York. They were also at that point under potential heavy attack from Britain. There was a lot of controversy about whether or not they should publicly declare independence and make themselves even more vulnerable. They did, within a very short period of time, actually come back and approve and change their vote from an abstention to an approval. On what date was the Declaration of Independence first read publicly, at least according to historical records? On what? Abstainia, Scott says. Abstainia, abstained. Yeah. I was going to take a break. While you're thinking about when the Declaration was first publicly read, I actually posted on Facebook a little while ago. I posted a picture of my socks and my shirt. And the shirt is one of the shirts that I own that has a patriotic theme. I have more. And the socks I'm wearing is one of the pair of socks that I own that has a patriotic theme as well. I'm not going to pick my feet up and hold them in front of the camera. I would just invite you to go check my personal Facebook page, and you'll see some pictures on my album on Facebook, Socks to Be Me. We'll leave that at that. All right. He needs to stand up so we can see it. Okay, I'm going to show you a little more of my shirt, and I'm going to try to show you my socks. So here's the shirt, and see if I can get the socks up. I don't know if I can get the socks into camera range. That's not easy. The socks, there. Okay, they have red and white stripes on the front, and they are blue field with white stars on the back. They're kind of like a flag. Go to the Facebook page. You'll get a better view. That was awkward, to say the least. That was very awkward to do. The date that the Declaration was first read publicly. Let's see if anybody is close. Okay, here's the answer. On July 8th, 1776, Colonel John Nixon of Philadelphia read a printed Declaration of Independence to the public for the first time in the courtyard outside of the Pennsylvania State House, which is now Independence Square outside of Independence Hall, that big courtyard outside of Independence Hall in Philadelphia. So it was 6 days after the vote for independence, 4 days after the Declaration was approved. And what they had done was sent the Declaration out to a local printer to have copies made that could be transported, couriered to the various states so that they could be read in each state in public places and posted. And it was read in Philadelphia on July 8th. There's a copy of that, either that actual printed copy or one very similar that was part of that early printing edition, on display in one of the buildings at Independence Hall. And they talk about that reading, that public reading on July 8th. Okay, we're almost halfway through and I'm out of time, but I'm going to go a little bit late today and finish this. On what date was the Declaration of Independence signed? Now, earlier, Chelan made mention that the 4th of July was when it was signed. There may have been some signatures on that date, but that is not the date that is most recorded as having been when the members of the Constitutional Congress signed it. Any additional guesses on that, if you're still with me here? Thank you about the comments about the nice fashion show. Any thoughts about the date of signature? 16th of a month. You like the 16th of a month, doesn't it? Lila's asking, does your wife shop or do you find your socks? Most of my socks I find myself. Some have come to me as gifts from my wife, from other family members, even from friends. I've even had some work colleagues just kind of send, here, I found these. I was at the store and I found these socks for you. So I get socks from a lot of different sources. I'm also obviously now on a lot of different mailing lists from companies that sell unique and colorful socks. My brother Scott also likes to wear colorful socks. Who's on here, Signed on July 9th is on there, Corey Ann saying. So I'll tell you, the date there's some uncertainty and some controversy about exactly who signed on what date. Various signers endorsed the document on different dates. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams in their memoirs all claimed that they signed it on July 4th, as did potentially John Hancock. But a lot of the delegates to the Constitutional Congress had to go back with the Declaration of Independence, present them in their home states, get approval within those states to move forward with that particular document in that form. And then they came back the following month. And August, let's see if I got this right. Let's see, August 2nd. I wanted to make sure I had the right August date. So about a month after the declaration, they reconvened back in Philadelphia, and that's when most of them signed. Now, here's another interesting thing. Those delegates would sometimes change, and because of different requirements back home, sometimes there would be a group of 3 or 4 delegates that would have been there when the vote took place. They went back, and maybe one of those delegates didn't return, and other delegates were appointed to come back. And so some of the people who cast the vote for independence and cast the approval of the Declaration in July were not necessarily the ones who came back and signed in August. And there's also some thought that some of the states weren't able to get their delegates back in August and may have signed even later. But August 2nd is what is most accepted as the date that the Declaration was signed. What was the population? That's right, it was the day after Carla Venturi was born. Carla's birthday is August 1st, but I think it was a little bit later than 1776. What was the population of the United States? What do you guess? What do you think the population of the United States was at that time, the time that the independence was declared in July of 1776? What was the approximate population of these brand new United States that would have been the colonies, the 13 colonies? At least 12. Moderator Cat says there were at least 12 people. I would have said there were at least the number of delegates who would have been the population, but so at least 12, because probably more than that. That's why I said at least. Right? Okay, so I'm seeing some numbers in here: 16,000, 500,000 population. Corey, and I'm not seeing commas. Is that 2,500,000? 150 million, about 1.5 million, including, Kathy Glavin brings up a good point, including the Native Americans, including the slaves. That's a very good question, because there's a lot of question mark about who was being counted. Native American Indians probably were not counted in that. And in most cases, anyone that was being held in slavery was not counted. They may have been, they were typically in most of the states, the southern states particularly, they were not shown in tax rolls. So that would have been included in the census. They were shown as property, right? So that's a very good point, that the population is not an accurate number because it did not include some of those indigenous and slave-held people. The official population in 1776 was about 2.5 million. So, Corianne, you were on with what the records show was the likely official population at that time. Now, as of last year, and of course there's still some census information being pulled together, but about 329 million people now live in the United States. Okay, some of the interesting weird trivia. 3 signers of the Declaration of Independence who later became US presidents, 3 signers of the Declaration of Independence later were elected to be presidents, died on July 4th in later years, obviously not in 1776. Can you name the 3 Declaration signers, later presidents, who died on July 4th? And just some interesting, weird kind of ironic trivia about some of this. Yeah, so talking about slaves eventually being counted as 3/4. I think it was it 3/4 or was it 3/5? I think in the Constitution, it states that 3/5 of slaves were later being counted in census information. Carissa has Jefferson and Adams dying on July 4th. Corianne has Adams, Jefferson, Hamilton, Adams, Jefferson, and somebody else. Madison, Fillmore, and FDR, Franklin. So within this, we actually have all 3. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson actually both died on the same day. They both died on July 4th, 1826, which was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Just by weird coincidence, Adams' last words are purported to have been, "Thomas Jefferson lives," thinking that his friend, Thomas Jefferson, had outlived him. What Adams didn't know from his deathbed was that Thomas Jefferson had actually died several hours earlier on the same day. Just bizarre coincidence. The other signer of the Declaration who also died on a July 4th was, in fact, and I saw it here on Scott's, was actually James Madison. James Madison. I'm wrong. It was James Monroe. Sorry, Scott. James Monroe. Madison did not sign the Declaration. I think he was part of the Congress that approved the Constitution. But James Monroe, who was the 5th president, Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. James Monroe was a signer, and he actually died on July 4th, 1831. So 5 years after Jefferson and Adams, James Monroe died. Only one U.S. president was born on the 4th of July. Can you name the president who was born on the 4th of July? He was a Yankee Doodle dandy, I guess. We're getting close to the end. Sorry we've run over, but this is fun. Boom, boom, boom. President born on the 4th of July. You're either really, really good at trivia, or if you get this one, or you're looking at doing a search online. I'll give you a few more seconds, and then for the sake of time, because we are already over, I want to give you the answer. The answer is actually Calvin Coolidge was born July 4th, 1872. Calvin Coolidge. True or false? The Liberty Bell rings 13 times every Independence Day to honor the 13 original states. True or false? 13 times the Liberty Bell is rung each year on the 4th of July. Anybody want? Hey, Carla, when you say Garfield, do you mean Garfield the president or Garfield the cat? Okay, I'm seeing some falses pop up here. And see if anybody has a Liberty Bell is broke. So at the present time, in modern times, correct, it's false. The last time the Liberty Bell was actually rung was February 26th in 1846. It had already had a crack. And a lot of people see that big crack on the side that's in all the pictures and think that's the crack that broke it. Actually, that was actually put in to repair an earlier crack. They would actually cut the crack away and then put a welded bolt in there to hold it together. And when they rang it on February 26, 1846, to commemorate George Washington's birthday, and it used to hang in the tower at Independence Hall, but it cracked again and was irreparably cracked, never rang again. What does happen on the 4th of July and other important holidays, Liberty Bell now sits in its own area across the street from Independence Hall, is they allow, yes, the Centennial Bell now hangs in Independence Hall. But every year they do allow descendants, mostly children who are descendants of the original independence signers, Declaration of Independence signers, to come to the Liberty Bell, and they get to tap it with their fingers 13 times. They do 13 times at 2:00 p.m. Eastern time every 4th of July. So that's coming up here in about 50 minutes. They'll do that. I don't think they televise it. You may be able to find it live streamed. That could be interesting. Almost to the end. True or false? George Washington was a delegate to the Second Continental Congress and the signer of the Declaration of Independence. True or false? George Washington was a delegate to the Second Continental Congress and a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Give you a moment on that. False. And then a hot dog eating contest. I wonder if George Washington ever participated in a hot dog eating contest, or for that matter, Thomas Jefferson or John Adams. Any other answers? I'm seeing some false. The bell gets tapped like, what? Hello, Bill. No, he was not. Final answer. I want it to be true. Washington, false. His horse was slow. False. So kind of a trick question. It's kind of a two-part question. Initially, George Washington was a delegate from Virginia to the Continental Congress. And he, in 1775, June of 1775, they were already meeting at that point. He was named by the Continental Congress to be, he was a colonel and in the Army, active colonel. And he was picked by the Continental Congress to go and lead the new Continental Army that they were putting together. Even though they had not yet declared independence, the Continental Army was being formed. You know, you had the Minutemen and others who a couple of months before had sort of fought in this guerrilla warfare thing against British. They were now forming an actual army that was supposed to be a paid army. And George Washington was appointed to go and lead that army as commander-in-chief. And that is when he then left his position as a delegate to the Second Continental Congress. He was not in Philadelphia when the Declaration of Independence was approved or signed. He was actually leading the troops at that point, and he had been replaced in the Continental Congress from Virginia. So yes, he was a delegate to the Second Continental Congress earlier. No, he did not sign. Final question. When did Independence Day become an official national holiday? When did Independence Day become an official national holiday, or federal holiday, if you want to put it that way? Yeah, see, Steve, you could easily do an hour show. I don't know that everybody wants to sit here for an hour. Half hour is better as a general rule, and then we can go from there. Thank you, though, Jerry Thompson. I appreciate that comment. All right. And I think Kathy Garlick, by the way, on that last one had it right, that he didn't sign, though. I think she's referring to Washington having been in the Congress but not signing. By the way, while I'm when Independence Day came out in theaters, 1802, 1896, 1800s. By the way, there is a great HBO produced miniseries from a number of years back. You can find it on like Amazon Prime Video. You can find it on HBO, I believe, called John Adams. Paul Giamatti plays John Adams, and it's a multi-episode series. And episode 2 is about independence. It leads up to that, obviously, in the first episode. The second episode shows Second Continental Congress meeting and the debates and the big division, big divide, even within the Congress about independence and how they eventually moved to declaring independence. Fictionalized, yeah, to a great degree. Obviously, it's for a dramatic effect, but it's taken from a lot of the journals and the letters that were written at the time, and I think it gives is probably at least a pretty accurate interpretation of some of the things that probably took place. And one of the things I love about it is when they do finally take the verbal vote to, declare independence, they're not jubilant. They're very pensive. It's a very serious thing, even though some of the colonies had been pushing for this, some of the delegations for some time, and they were obviously thrilled to get this vote through. They realized the gravity and the magnitude of what they had just voted for and what it was going to mean. And what it shows there, the quiet, very serious moment when they realized they've just passed this vote, to me is extraordinary, and it's worth watching the entire series. But if you do nothing else, find the John Adams series on HBO or Amazon Prime and watch episode 2. I think you'll appreciate that. Let me know what you think if you do watch that, or if you've seen it, let me know your thoughts. Okay. Although the 4th of July was being observed in various locations beginning in 1777, the following year people were already celebrating it. It was not a federal holiday at all until signed into law by Ulysses S. Grant on June 28, 1870, along as part of a 4-holiday group that for the first time they were recognized in different ways in different states. And so there was Ulysses Grant signed a bill. It had been approved by Congress on June 28, 1870, to make 4 of the holidays national holidays that would be observed at the same time and would give federal employees only in Washington, D.C. at that time the day off, but without pay. There was the 4th of July as Independence Day, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And Thanksgiving had its own controversy in terms of how it was being observed and when it was being observed, we know, for some time, but that's for a different show. That's in November. It only provided unpaid days off for federal workers in the District of Columbia. It was not until 1938 that Congress passed a bill making Independence Day a paid federal holiday in 1940 that it actually went into effect. That's when it became a paid holiday. We think of these national holidays that everybody observes. Stop and think about the fact that not everybody gets holidays off. Sometimes they may get because of employment rules or union rules or even a company's benevolence. If they have to work, they may get paid extra for working on holidays. You think about the number of people in different professions, some of them on here, who work in retail situations, who are first responders, who work in other settings where business has to continue on holidays. But what did change by the signing of these bills and when laws are passed to make something a federal holiday has just happened recently with Juneteenth. What it means is that it becomes a recognized holiday for federal workers, and that's true across all the United States. Typically, then states will also adopt that if they haven't already. Things like with Juneteenth, a number of states were already observing it as a paid holiday within their states and before it became a federal holiday. So anyway, yeah, I'm a trivia nerd, and here it's a mandatory unpaid day off. Yeah, see, there's still some places, Kimberly, where we know that not everything is always equitable in every situation. So, you know, you gotta always recognize that equity is still an elusive thing that we're chasing in many situations. Okay, wow, we went way over today, but I appreciate you sticking with this. I hope you had fun with it. Let me tell you what's coming up. We're actually, Coffee Breaks with Steve is taking a little hiatus next Saturday. We've got grandkids here. We actually have an outing plan that's going to take us away for the most of the day. And I wanted to get started in the morning. So we're going to take a little breather next Saturday. No Coffee Breaks with Steve. I'll post online to make sure everybody knows that. But we're not going to be on next week. Then on July 17th, we are going to have an episode called Making Life Decisions. We're bumping things out a little bit because of this. Making Life Decisions. And we're going to talk about how we go about what are the impacts of making big decisions in life, things having to do with, you know, marriage or divorce or moving or retirement or other big life to starting a family. There are a lot of different things. We're going to hear from some experts. Not going to have any guests, but we're going to hear from some expertise on what they say the impacts of those are and how we go about preparing and dealing with those. The following week, Shalane Shepard is going to be on here with me, and we're going to play something called Mad Lib Theater. And Mad Lib Theater is where we're going to ask you, like you do with Mad Libs, we're going to ask you to give us words that fill in certain blanks. And then those words are going to create a script, a small script that Shalane and I will do together on the air as Reader's Theater. So Mad Lib Theater will take place. And then the week after that, as we get to the end of July, we're going to do an episode called Chew on This. We're going to talk about how we eat. And some people eat fast, some people eat slow, some people really chew their food, some people swallow it whole. That was almost a rhyme. But anyway, we got some things coming up, and I know that one sounds weird. You'll hear more about that. But anyway, we get a week off next week. Maybe that's why we went long today. Maybe the whole thing today was just to cover for next week as well, right? But anyway, thank you so much for being here. Please enjoy this holiday, however you're enjoying it. Make sure you do it in a safe and sane way. If you've got pets, I know that you're going to be concerned about protecting them because there's a lot of noise that often goes along with the holiday and with people setting off fireworks, whether they are formal fireworks displays or ones that people maybe shouldn't even be doing, but watch for those as well. Stay safe. Stay off the roads if you can help it. A lot of people out there being a little bit crazy this weekend. If you do have to be out there, take care of yourself. And just as we do every week, please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. And since I won't see you this next Saturday, find a different way. I can't talk. Find a way. Hold on. Now we've got it. Find a way to make a difference in your world for the next couple of weeks. I love you. God bless you. Thank you. Have a great day.